Good morning and welcome. Well, we're not on the business park today, we're actually on Thacka Nature Reserve, but I just wanted to show you how close we are to the Penrith Business Parks. So just behind these trees, you can see some buildings over here. That is the Penrith Business Parks, but here we are on the Nature Reserve. And I thought it was really interesting to come down today to talk about the business parks and its relationship with the Nature Reserve. So today have got Kevin Scott, the Northern Reserves Manager, I've got that right. The Northern Reserves Manager with us, who manages Thacka Beck, and he's going to teach us or talk to us more about the Nature Reserve and what it means for Penrith and what you can find down here as well. So if you've not explored this area before, there's lots of walks. It's a lovely place to come to, especially when we've got lovely weather like we have today. So hello Kevin, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to tie camera around. Nice to meet you.
Good morning. Very nice of you to ask me to do this. Thank you.
No, I thought it was just something a little bit different today that we can talk about, because again, as you can see behind Kevin, we've got all these industrial units and we've got a bit of work going on here, repairing footpaths and things. So Kevin, let's start off by, can you tell us a bit about what you do and like what you do at the Thacka Beck Nature Reserve as well?
Sure. So I work for Cumbria Wildlife Trust, which is a charity that is solely dedicated to improving wildlife and wildlife habitats in Cumbria. I work for them as the Northern Reserves Manager, so I look after the reserves in the northern half of Cumbria, of which there are approximately 13 or 14, of which Thacka Beck is one.
Excellent. And tell me about the type of work that you do down here, because a lot of people, maybe like me, Penrith person, you come down here for a walk. People might walk the dogs, or just to come and get some exercise, come for a run, but we don't actually know what goes on down here. So what do you do here?
So Thacka Beck Nature Reserve was originally built as a flood defence by the Environment Agency, who then asked Cumbria Wildlife Trust if we would manage it as a nature reserve.
Okay.
And it was partially, showing that one piece of land can deliver multiple outcomes. It doesn't have to be just one thing.
Yeah.
So it's a nature reserve, but its primary role is as a flood defence.
Okay.
Our primary management tool on this particular nature reserve, unfortunately we can't see them.
Oh, they're hiding out there.
They're hiding somewhere in the shade.
Cattle somewhere.
But we have 5 belted Galloway heifers who have come from another nature reserve called Icott Hill. Mm-hmm. And they come on and graze the reserve from around about June right through until around about sort of October, November, possibly even December, depending on the weather.
Right.
So they're our main management tool.
Yeah.
They help kind of keep the sward diversified. They help us manage wildflowers in terms of, if we didn't get rid of the last year's growth, the dead vegetation would suffocate the next season of wildflowers. So
okay.
Grazing is very important.
Yeah.
And things that I and my colleagues do on the nature reserve really are about making sure that the grazing is going well. So we monitor the nature reserve. We look at it. We see what's happening. How many trees or scrubby things are growing. Is the species diversity going up or down? And we might tweak the grazing accordingly.
Right.
And then the other thing we do is we have 2 fields, the 2 dry fields, which are on the opposite side of the sluice from the wetlands. So the one that you can see directly behind that sluice structure, and the one down here, which is the wetter of the 2 fields with the pylon in, we're managing as species-rich grasslands.
Okay.
And so at various times of the year, you might see us here sowing seed or planting wildflowers, just to try and sort of kickstart the whole process of wildflower meadows.
So it is like management, isn't it, of the area and the grasslands and just keeping everything thriving, because I guess if you didn't do that, it would just become really overgrown and those plants that you don't want would take over, and the flood defences might not work as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, particularly on these banks, which are the flood defence, we cannot allow any long vegetation to get established. So no trees, no scrub, no deep-rooted, no tunnelling animals, because these are the managed under the reservoir regulations. But in terms of the grasslands, species-rich grasslands in England have virtually disappeared. We've lost 97% of them due to agricultural improvement. When I say agricultural improvement, I'm talking about industrialization and efficiency rather than improving things for wildlife. So to have that level of loss, it's critically important. Obviously most people are aware about the catastrophe that has happened to our bee populations. Well, bees are not our only pollinators, and we have many different species of bee and loads of other species of pollinator, and unless you have flowers for them to feed on, you're not, things are not going to be very good.
That's it. So these types of areas and reserves are so important, aren't they?
Incredibly important.
Tell us about some of the species that we have here, because obviously, like me, Joe Blogs, just walking around and I just see some birds and some ducks and I don't really appreciate what's here. Is there anything like in particular that, say, if I was coming down here for a walk, I should look out for that's quite unique or special to this reserve?
Well, a bird that has been seen here occasionally is a water rail, and they are very difficult to see. They're very secretive and shy. Okay. So that's always worth keeping an eye on. I know people sort of don't get terribly excited by gulls, but actually, gulls, in common with most species of bird, are in real, they're in real trouble with terms of, reductions in numbers of populations. So, different species of gulls are here, lesser black-backed herring gull, but also things like the common gull, or you can occasionally see various duck species, moorhens. We've seen otters.
Really? Wow.
There are certainly otters, if not, they may not take up residence, but they certainly use the area and pass through it. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, there's loads, isn't there?
And there'll be loads of small mammals just simply by virtue of the fact that there's quite long vegetation. And all of that's really important. Long vegetation also means lots of invertebrates, generally speaking. Particularly you have a mixture of short to long vegetation. You get more invertebrates, more different types of invertebrates. That all feeds up into the food chain. In terms of the wildflowers that we have here, there are great species here. I mean, we're quite late in the season.
Yes.
And, we're looking at that little yellow flower there, which a lot of people will know what it is. It's called ragwort.
Oh, yes.
And for most people, it's a terrible plant that needs gotten rid of. But it is a native plant. It's toxic to livestock. And so, when it's found in grasslands, most people will pull it out because they don't want their stock to get poisoned by it. But actually, stock won't eat it if it's growing. The problem arises if it gets cut and gets into hay. Then it can be kind of lethal for livestock.
Oh, right.
But from a wildlife perspective, it's a really important plant because it's a late flowering plant. So later on in the season, when lots of flowers have finished and gone over, and your poor pollinators are looking for some food, there it is. There we go.
So it's quite important in these types of areas.
There's another interesting plant there called common knapweed, which I don't know if you can see the purple sort of flower.
Sort of here.
And that's really important as well. It's a late flowering plant. It flowers for quite long into the season. It produces, it's quite a prolific producer of seed. And what you find if you have a lot of that is you'll get birds like goldfinch. You'll just get flocks of them coming down because they want the seed.
Oh, okay.
So it's really quite marvellous. If you're in a field or here, lucky enough, you can actually just walk along and suddenly, poof, 30 goldfinch sort of go, help! And the Cumbria name for that plant there is hosnops, I'm told.
All right. Oh, I've not heard that one, and
yeah. Some places in the country call them hardheads.
Right.
Which I guess that's what a nopper's head, isn't it?
No, it's quite a tongue twister.
A hoss's nop must be quite hard.
Yes. So obviously, it's quite unusual probably to find a nature reserve right next to an industrial estate, and we've got all sorts of different types of businesses on the business parks. Do you think the two sit, because you wouldn't normally think, well, we'll put a nature reserve next to a business park. Do you think the two work quite harmoniously together, or have there been, is there any ways that things could be improved, or the ways that the businesses might be able to get involved and do their bit to help conserve this area as well?
Well, we do, as I say, one of the areas that we manage as a species-rich grassland is this bank. And because we can't graze it with our cattle, we have to cut it by hand and rake up all the grass that we cut afterwards, because you've got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And we do that with a group of volunteers, and we're always open to more people coming and joining us as volunteers. So that's certainly one way that people can get engaged. Another sort of, less time-consuming way, if you like, is just generally keeping an eye on things and letting me or Cumbria Wildlife Trust know if there are any significant issues. Because, I manage 13 nature reserves. I'm not here every day or every week. So having that that feedback is really useful. If people are interested in helping with monitoring, if people have specific interests, like I don't know if there are any twitchers out there.
I'm sure there will be.
We'd love to get records of what birds are here.
Okay.
Systematic recording scheme, as opposed to just like today I saw
it.
In terms of the location and of it being in the middle of an industrial estate, you're right. On the face of it, sort of sounds quite worrying, really. So in fact, I would say, a nature reserve in the middle of an industrial estate is almost probably better than a nature reserve in the middle of a housing estate.
Okay, that's good.
Because in a housing estate, because we have had tremendous damage, not us as an organisation, but other nature reserves have been tremendously damaged by being in the middle of a housing estate, because people just use them for nefarious purposes, really. Or they carry out really damaging practices, or they think it's great to have fires. So this is really, really busy during the day, but then at night it probably isn't.
It's really quiet, which is probably
a
good thing.
The sort of saving grace. So I don't really see any negatives.
That's fantastic. And then obviously with having the Penrith Industrial bid to support you as well and helping maintain footpaths, or if there are any issues, we can report back to you, and the two organisations can work together really well. So if there's any businesses that want to get involved, how do they find out about Cumbria Wildlife Trust?
So we have a website, www.cumbriawildlifetrust.org.uk. There are contact details in there. If you want to contact me, there's a admin email address, and if you just put my name, Kavin Scott, in the subject box, it'll be sent.
People can find you.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time for us today, Kevin. We really, really appreciate it, and it's been fascinating to find out more about the nature reserve. Flick my screen round. So there we go, just on that nice shot with a lovely blue sky in the background. I hope that's given you an insight today on how the nature reserve works and how it sits alongside the business parks as well. And there's loads of opportunities there for people to get involved with the monitoring, helping volunteering, and monetary donations, I'm sure, that the Cumbria Wildlife Trust would like as well. So thanks for your time today. I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye.